thank you, Kasif, for joining me today. We have been
Thank
doing,
you.
the series of podcast on what is the
Mm,
future of crypto, what the market looks like, and what retail investors should look upon for 2024 and beyond.
mm,
And this is
mm,
our fourth episode, and I'm really, really privileged to have you on board. And you have this vast knowledge of crypto, and probably one
mm,
of the early adopters of Bitcoin. As I know your a bit of your journey and story, I think the audience who are following us or
mm.
personally following me or the traders of Solus will be really privileged to gain some knowledge from you. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for inviting me. Looking forward to have a great conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Kasif, before we get into any deep conversation of like what is going on, let's start with a very simple thing. What
Mm,
is happening with the market today? We hit 72,000, 73,000. Then we
mm,
started getting dip, 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 dip. Ethereum ETF got approved. Everyone was like, yay, we are going to hit,
mm,
10K or something like that. But suddenly everything started rolling back, back, back. We went down
mm.
$60,000 Bitcoin. Last 2 days has been better, but what is happening currently in the market? Why there is a dip? What do you think? Like, is the
Mm,
Bitcoin
mm.
is to recover in next couple days, or it is just a journey? What is your take on that?
Right. So I think if you so to understand what is happening today and to understand what might happen in future, you have something called past. You can always look at the past pattern and how things have prevailed in the past, especially after halving. So we all know that if you if you go back into the history and look at how Bitcoin has performed over the years, and we see how what Bitcoin does after halving. So generally, we have seen that after every halving, Bitcoin makes its all-time high, right? For one simple reason, because if after every halving, the fresh supply of Bitcoin gets into half. The supply is halved, and so obviously when the demand grows and the supply of Bitcoin drops by 50%. So obviously, over the period of time, we have seen that after halving, there is Bitcoin makes its all-time high. And it's a simple demand and supply equation, right? Bitcoin has been designed in such a way that 4 years is just ample lot of time. So between two halving, there are like 4 years. So Satoshi Nakamoto designed this stuff in such a way that in 4 years is a decent time to get new entrants into the market, to create new demand in the market. 4 years is a decent ample time. So after every halving, the demand grows, but the supply of Bitcoin gets into half. Now the beauty this time around is, and thing that surprised a lot of people was that Bitcoin made its all-time high before halving. So
Yeah,
this came as a shocker to a lot of people. And one pure simple reason was the Bitcoin ETFs, because
right.
Bitcoin ETFs they came in January 2024, and because of them, because of the institutional demand, Bitcoin somehow very surprisingly, in fact, made its all-time high. So now a lot of people started speculating one thing that since Bitcoin has made its all-time high and that too before halving, so now the correction is imminent. And also, what happens that after halving, we have seen that generally there is a dip. There comes one dip in the market for one simple reason. Suppose if you're a miner, the only bread and butter for you is Bitcoin because you are into this mining business to earn Bitcoin. When the supply gets reduced by 50%, obviously the cost is the same. In fact, it increases, right? But your revenue gets dropped by 50%, because the chances to earn your revenue drops by 50%. So what happens that miners generally, you know to meet out their expenses, they sell Bitcoin. And that's what we have seen after every halving, and this time around is also not different. Miners are selling Bitcoin, right? And there is a capitulation that is happening in the market. So first impact is of the miner selling, and that should not be a surprise to anyone. The second main reason that why market is seeing a drop is that many people think that Bitcoin has already made its all-time high before halving. So there is a time to see some correction. So people are speculative about it. That's the reason why the market is going down. Third main reason is that nobody had even thought that Germany one fine day will wake up and they'll say that within a span of 15 days time, 15 20 days time, they will dump 50,000 Bitcoins. And now this 50,000 Bitcoins, they've already sold all the Bitcoins. Today only we got to know that they are not left with even few sats. Just imagine. In fact, somebody gifted them 1.87 dollar 1.87 worth of sats to their address. So just imagine they are not left with a single sat. They have sold every single sat what they held, that to 50,000 BTC, and that too within a span of 2 weeks. Obviously, this news had an impact, and the market said, okay, now there could we can see a dump, and but surprisingly, uh, Bitcoin did show some. Bitcoin has shown some resilience toward it, because we have not seen Bitcoin going down by, say, below 52,000, 51,000. People were expecting now 50,000 Bitcoins will be dumped into the market, and Bitcoin might go to 40,000 or $38,000, in fact. And the last reason is Mt. Gox,
Mm.
because we know, Mt. Gox, their exchange got hacked. They're close to 1,42,000 bitcoins needs to be distributed, and out of that, 68,000 bitcoin will go to retailers. Total retailers are 20,000. So people are speculating that once 68,000 BTCs goes into the hand of retailers, they might sell it.
Mm.
So people have different opinions, and when all these three four news, when they combined together, so obviously the sentiments became negative, and that's the reason market has shown that it's like a weaker market. But now, I think the positive sign is, number one, Germany has sold every single Bitcoin they had,
Yeah.
and this didn't had any much of an impact on Bitcoin. Number two, Mount Cox. So 20,000 retailers, um, might they so every retailer will get approximately 3.2 BTC. Now they're not going to sell all their BTCs. Why? Because if they sell BTC, there is going to be a 15% income tax. So what is the point of selling BTC at this point of time? And in all these people who invested in 2014 in Bitcoin, just imagine how early they were, and they are basically nerds.
Yeah.
They know the importance of BTC. So once they will get Bitcoin, there is a very low probability that they will sell all the Bitcoin. Yes, they will sell it, but they will not sell all 68,000 Bitcoins. I mean, it's a human psyche that they might say, okay, who's going to pay tax of 15%? Let me keep majority of it,
Yeah.
and let me sell something that I need. So, and on the other hand, if you see, the best part, whatever Germany had sold in the market, 40% of that selling has been absorbed by Bitcoin ETFs.
Mm.
40% of Bitcoin that Germany sold has already been bought by Bitcoin ETFs in the
Mm.
past 6 days. So I think all in all, I see the worst is over. I'm not saying that Bitcoin can't go down from here. It can still go down to 52,000, 51,000, but the rebounds will be much much stronger, right? And probably all the worst stories are over, all the negativity is over. From here, what we can see is only going Bitcoin going up and making all-time high.
Got it. But I have a follow-up question on this. When you say, like, Germany sold every bit of Bitcoin they had,
Mhm,
I mean, what does this story tell? Like, if the government could have, kept it as an asset to themselves,
mhm,
but they decided not to. Is this indicates like the government of Germany, or they don't believe in Bitcoin, or they are
mhm.
anti-Bitcoin? What is your take on that?
It's a good question. So what happens that, I give you a story of UK.
Mhm.
uh, so what governments do, uh, most of the things what they do is to make people believe that what they are doing is right. And number two, they do things to win the trust of people, because if people lose trust in the system, that is when the governments worry the most. That they
Mhm.
always want to do things where they make people understand that you have trusted us with a responsibility. We are doing a great job.
Mhm.
Uh, Trust us. Whatever we are doing is in your interest,
Mhm.
and you need to believe us. And they do things where uh, even if they don't want to do it, they still do it because they want people to have a trust in the system, right?
Yeah.
And even if their intention is something else. So like let me give you an example. Like in UK in 1999 2000, uh, UK government decided to sell 395 tons of gold they had.
Mhm.
Now they said, okay, they earned close to 3.5 billion US dollar from by selling 395 tons of gold.
Mhm.
And today, the same amount of gold is worth 28 billion US dollar. So just imagine if they would have kept 395 tons with them,
Yeah.
today it would have been 28 billion, which is 9x, 900x, nine times they would have earned more probably. And also, if they would have got gold in there as a reserve, obviously this brings more stability. Now,
Mhm.
what this thing has done is that by selling gold, I mean, today UK is ranked 18th, right?
Mhm.
Just imagine that India ranks ninth in terms of gold reserves.
Mhm.
So they are not able to buy gold. Today if they want to buy the same amount of gold, they have to shell a lot of money. And this is very important part. Now, why they did it? They did it because exactly in 1999, euro was launched.
Hmm.
So euro was a new currency. It
Hmm.
was so to support euro and euro-backed asset and to counter US dominance, they wanted people to trust euro. Now, why people will trust euro? Because euro was a new currency.
Hmm.
People were a little apprehensive.
Hmm.
So they said, okay, let us give you an example. Let us first tell you that we trust euro. So they invested 40% of 3.5 billion US dollar into euro.
Hmm.
So they kind of did a posturing that we are investing in euro backed assets. You, as a general public, can do the same thing.
Hmm.
If suppose they would not have done that, how they would have convinced the people to accept euro, right?
Hmm.
Similarly, what Germany today has done is Germany has sold Bitcoin for no reason. The one reason is the psychological reason what they want to communicate to the people of Europe, not just Germany, that Germany is the boss in Europe. Uh, it is one of the strongest nation right now. They rank somewhere in the top five, top four, and in Europe, they are a very strong nation. In fact, they want to be the leader in Europe, and they just communicated to the people of Europe and Germany that Bitcoin is a garbage,
Hmm.
and we don't keep garbage with us.
Hmm.
If you think that it is going to be uh, a very important financial instrument in the future, or a store of value, you are
Hmm.
absolutely wrong. If that would have been the case, we are the expert, we are the
Hmm.
government bodies. If we think that it's a garbage and if we are selling it, why you are not selling it?
Hmm.
So that's what Germany is trying to do. But at some point of time, Germany will have regret.
Hmm.
And just imagine how embarrassing it would be for Germany as a nation
Hmm.
when in just 2 3 years, if there's again plan to buy Bitcoin,
Yeah.
they will be trolled like anything.
Correct.
That what, and uh, then imagine if they plan to buy Bitcoin at that point of time, then people will start losing trust in the system. Even today,
Yeah.
if Germany would not have sold Bitcoin, people would have said, okay, Germany is sitting on this thing and they tell us to sell.
Hmm.
It's like I give you a very good example. How many times you have seen governments advocating you to buy gold?
Yeah.
Never.
Never. Yeah.
They never tell you to buy physical gold. The only thing they tell you is to buy sovereign bonds.
Hmm.
They tell you to buy digital gold. They tell you to buy digital certificates, but
Right.
they never tell you to buy physical gold. Why? Because they know if they'll motivate you to do that, uh, so the gold is one asset. You know, at least you can have its custody in your hand in
Hmm.
true sense.
Hmm.
If you are having a gold bar and I
Right.
want to have that gold bar with me and you don't want to give it, I the only option I have is to put a gun on your head and then take that.
Correct.
So in a true sense, you are the owner of that
Hmm.
gold bar
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
you have that in your custody.
Hmm.
And every other asset like stock and
Hmm.
every other asset is a digital asset that is somewhere with the broker. You have
Hmm.
to claim that.
Hmm.
It's a digital number, right?
Right.
So what I'm just trying to tell you here is, and on the other hand, governments themselves are having physical gold with them, not a digital gold,
That's true.
but
Yeah.
they tell you to buy digital gold, right? So people don't understand the how governments operate. What they do is something else. What's going in their mind is something else. And Germany will face embarrassment at some point of time when they'll announce that they are buying, say, 5,000 bitcoins, and then they will regret that, oh, they already had it, but
Right.
now that'll be very embarrassing for them.
Correct. Correct. So talking about this government and regulation, I mean the entire dynamics is very interesting for every government. Like
Mhm,
even in US, at one time US is suing a lot of people. On the other hand, they're also giving
mhm,
licenses to companies to go for derivatives. On the other hand, people highest number of reserves of Bitcoin holders are in US. So it's really very difficult to understand what is going on in
mhm,
general versus what's the intent is. So I totally understand that. But I want to shift a gear because we're talking about regulations and government. I want to give an example first and then want to understand why, from your knowledge, why this is happening. So like Solus is it's not a decentralized exchange, right? It's a centralized exchange. So our technologies are very less dependent on blockchain. Like the
mhm,
blockchain part of our technology is mostly like deposits, withdrawal kind of thing. But other things like we do KYC, the risk scoring of customers, making sure there's no terrorist, PEP checks, everything else, getting the trade executed is on Web2 system. Now, Web2 people, when I go to hire Web2 engineers or Web2 people, a lot of time my team gets a question from the candidates like, is Bitcoin even legal? Like, crypto is legal in India? Like, are you guys legal? Is it even legal? Like, I have personally, like, people reaching to interviews third level and talking to me and asking me this question, like,
mm,
is crypto even legal? Like, will I be in trouble if I work for Solus? And I'm like, uh,
mm,
I just speechless and try to explain them. So,
mm,
in one hand, if you look into chain analysis reports and all, like India is one of the largest market for crypto. Like, it's crazy,
mm.
right? And then there are people who are still there out there and questioning, is this even legal in India? What is lacking? Like, why there are two very opposite poles that we are seeing in India?
So the situation now is still okay. To be honest, I mean, we have seen those times. Those times are very ugly because there in 2017, in fact, in 2018, there was this proposal from Mr. S.C. Kirk. Today, he's a crypto advocate, to be very honest. But I don't know, under some pressure, he drafted a proposal of putting people behind bars for 10 years who are dealing in crypto. So there was a proposal. Luckily, that proposal couldn't come into effect, but that proposal was submitted to the finance ministry, and so that proposal was quite scary. And in fact, people do have that because that proposal was covered by all the media outlets,
Hmm,
and that proposal uh, damaged that our industry a lot.
hmm,
So people left the industry. There were a lot of exchanges who left the country. A lot of entrepreneurs left the country at that point of time to
hmm,
Dubai because they were not sure about their future.
correct.
So it did had an impact. So they are not wrong when they say crypto is even legal because they have that memory of those headlines.
Hmm, hmm,
And people generally have, people tend to remember negative things more than what is happening. People,
yeah,
I'm very surprised and shocked that people don't know that BlackRock has a Bitcoin ETF and it's buying like crazy. When
yeah,
you tell them, they say, is it? I said, BlackRock? Yeah, yeah, we know BlackRock. We are invested in more BlackRock's other mutual funds and all that. But BlackRock has a ETF of Bitcoin. So, and when I say, is what is your so crypto? I think is illegal because we heard that
yeah.
you know.
Same,
So, so
same.
generally, awareness is picking up, but
Hmm,
still masses are still apprehensive. But I
hmm,
think now the things are changing at a very fast pace
hmm,
because now there are a lot of exchanges who are doing a great job. They almost all the exchanges have a educational content as well.
hmm,
Plus now you have after what the finance minister when imposed 30% tax,
hmm,
that gave a lot of confidence to people because they said it's not about taxation, it's about if she's planning to tax it, that means at least she'll not tax something which is illegal,
correct, correct.
right?
Hmm,
uh, yeah, that thing can be speculative and fall into the gaming or gambling part, but then at least it is not a crime to
right,
have crypto.
right.
So that gave a lot of confidence. That changed a lot of perspective because if I've spoken to a lot of exchanges and founders, and they say uh, after that proposal of after that that speech where she proposed a taxation, there was a spike in the number of people who entered into crypto.
Hmm,
Those were the same people who were sitting at the fence and
hmm,
watching the industry.
hmm.
But I think after that there was a lot of change in mindset that happened after that decision.
Interesting. Means, to be honest, like I've been talking to a lot of people who are into the world of derivatives because I
Mm,
mean, Solus is in the world of derivatives, and because you mentioned that word of gambling, right? It is true. Like at the end, you are trying to predict what will
mm,
happen in future. So there is an element of prediction, but it is not a game of chance where you are just tossing and say like head or tail, whatever it
mm,
comes, right? It's an educated, analytical guess, and I mean. It's not that I think the government is trying to say because lot of youngsters. I was talking to someone from the industry who works at SEBI. Just had a connection, cannot take the name, but he was saying like forget crypto and all. Like even in India, forex or stock market derivatives is extremely high. The young crowd are after derivatives.
mm,
The previous generations they came to stock market to hold for a long time, but the intraday traders has significantly increased, which is also a risk because people, just during the election, what happened? Like millions of money wiped out. So I mean that's why I think government is trying to be much more protective about it. It's just what I think. They are putting it in terms of gambling, trying to put tax so that there is some. I mean there can be better ways, but this is what probably they are thinking to do.
So that, uh, to be honest, I mean, they are not serious about this industry. They
Mm,
just want to, in India, try and understand how India works. To be honest, if somebody, if you don't have an understanding of how India works, then you will not get the answers. India doesn't work through ministers. Most people think that ministers run the show. No, they're absolutely wrong. If somebody thinks that Nirmala Sitaramanji or the minister, central minister, state minister, they run the show, no, they don't run the show. The show is run by the bureaucrats, right? The IAS officers,
right.
right? And so these administrative officers who are in charge of different bodies and policy making bodies, you have all those different kind of meetings, bodies and committees. These are headed by IAS officers. All these ministers are assisted by IAS officers. So they don't have time to get into what is Bitcoin, who's Satoshi Nakamoto. And do you think that it's that they sit down and read Bitcoin Standard, and or they see a podcast or they see a Twitter?
Yeah.
Do you think so? No, it's the bureaucrats. Bureaucrats are given the responsibility of forming policy around it.
Yeah.
Now, what is the problem? The problem is that bureaucrats, the education system is such today that has not evolved with time, right? The administrative structure, even the IAS officers, with all due respect, they're great minds. They come from a structure which has been established for some ages now,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And the one thing that is missing is the technology part. See,
mm,
that how technology is evolving. At the end of the day, we all are learners.
correct.
You're a techno person yourself, and you understand that every day technology is evolving. Something that you learned 5 years back or 2 years back, 5 years is a huge time in technology, by the way. 6 months back is not applicable today,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, but bureaucracy has not evolved. The only way they have evolved. Have you ever seen any bureaucrats talking, managing a show on social media,
Yeah.
interacting with people on Twitter Spaces? In US, this happens.
Yeah.
In US, bureaucrats are in Twitter Spaces. They are all over social media. Uh, Everything is transparent, openly discussed. Look, open forums. Bureaucrats are inviting people. They're inviting industry bodies in Congress. They're asking some nasty questions. That's how bureaucracy should actually work.
Mm,
So crypto is seen as something that, okay, we cannot control it. Let's ring fence it. But they are not seeing it from a perspective that what is the true potential of it.
mm. They don't have even time, I guess. There are so many
It is.
other priorities.
So for the first time, in fact, I've never spoken about this aspect on any podcast channel. Just telling you how India works, because to understand India, you have to understand bureaucracy.
Correct. Cool. I
Even all the general elections that happens in India, they are executed and implemented on ground by these bureaucrats only. They make it happen.
mm, yeah. Yeah, India is always very interesting, and if you can run something in India, probably you can run the same thing anywhere in the world. That's what
Yeah.
I feel a lot of time. But anyways, moving on from government and other things. One question I have is, people expectation. People expecting a lot from Bitcoin, that even when we are at $70,000, we feel like bull run has not arrived. And what do you think is happening with a lot of other coins, which in the last 5 6 months, most of the coins in the project they launched, they are struggling. But what are the strategies that you would suggest that some of the prominent projects they are just struggling because of the market conditions and they can come back?
Mm. So my suggestion to everyone who's listening to your podcast is that you have two accounts in your life. One is a saving account and one is a current account, right? Saving account is where you save, right? Where you save and you don't touch that money. You save it from a perspective of maybe retirement or maybe for some specific purpose, like somebody want it for an education, somebody want to save it for their child education, maybe after 15 years. People have different reasons to save, and there could be different reasons. So that money is particularly not touched. When I say saving means money that you are not touching it, you're just accumulating. And when I say money is not only the currency I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Money is basically when you're putting that currency into work,
Mm,
right? So when you're converting that currency into stock, when you're converting your currency into gold, when you're converting your currency into land, when you're converting your currency into real estate. And now you have one more option, that converting your crypto currency into Bitcoin.
mm,
So first you need to make people understand, whenever I say that Bitcoin is your saving account and
mm,
crypto is your current account, right?
mm.
So they kind of once again then even then they don't understand. All I say is that you are in
Interesting.
crypto. If suppose if you are in crypto, you are people come in crypto, and if they have an investment target of say 1,000 rupees, they put all that 1,000 rupees into altcoins.
Mm,
Nothing bad in that, just that it's a way too high risk, way
mm,
too high.
mm,
So it's not that it doesn't work for people. Uh, it has proven that it has worked for people,
mm,
but a lot of factors have played into that when it worked. Like for example, the timing. They invested in the bear market,
mm,
right? They invested in those coins which had the right narrative.
mm.
Like suppose today, if you buy coin in metaverse is no narrative right now.
Yeah.
Today, if you buy say NFTs on Ethereum, BAYC, which is a
Mm,
9 ETH, which used to be 450 ETH, is is lying at 9 ETH.
yeah.
Today, if you go and buy something that doesn't have a narrative, right? So what will happen? So it all depends how which narrative you bought, at
Yes.
what time you bought, and what was your level of research. Uh, uh, what was the status of VCs in that coin? So was there unlock supposed to happen in another 3 years? I mean, a lot of research goes into it, but how many people actually know how to do that research?
Mm,
Not more than 2 to 3% who give their everything to crypto day in day night,
right.
and then they get to know the strategy. Okay, yeah, so they found that strategy. So most of the people don't know it. Most of the people just get attracted to those 3%, 2%, that yeah, they are making money, let me also try this out, and they end up losing that 1,000 rupees by investing in altcoins. The best strategy always is to have bare minimum 50% of your investment target in Bitcoin, 20% in Ethereum. So that covers you 70%,
Mm,
right? And next 30% you can invest 10% in maybe Solanas and BNB, those blue chips, mid cap, what you say.
mm,
And last 10% you can just play around, whatever you want to do.
mm.
10 to 5% is even if, and that too you need to do it from a perspective that if things work out, fair enough. If things doesn't work out, I have a risk of only 10%.
Yeah.
And if things work out, that 10% could be much bigger, can give you much more returns than what Bitcoin and Ethereum. Agreed, but at least you have covered your risk. The
Yeah.
biggest mistake people do is they think that they have entered in crypto in 2024. First of all, they say, oh my god, I am late, and they feel jealous by looking at people who were there since 2017 or 18. They say, we were late, they were early, let me beat them.
Mm, mm.
So they drive the car. So suppose have you ever seen that if you're driving on a highway, you see a car far away from you, suddenly some thought gets stuck in your mind that I want to, maybe at times what happens that my son is traveling, he says, we need to overtake that car. You don't want to do that, but still for your child you do that. We all have done it. So what happens that it's a human psyche to overtake somebody, on the road, and also on the financial field as well. we
Interesting.
we kind of, it's a human psyche to overpass or overtake somebody around you who has done better or who has more experience. It's kind of a, I don't know, it's a human psyche. And people kind of make fast money, and that too quickly, and that too in a big quantity, so they end up putting in their money into memes and all those different small coins.
Yeah.
This cycle is repeated every time, every year. And no matter how many times you tell them this, what I've told you, I have told this thing 100 times on my podcast, not more than, in fact, more than 100 times. But people just listen to this advice and then they forget it.
Mm,
They forget that Warren Buffett was not a trader.
mm.
Uh, Rakesh Junjunwala was not a trader. So
Invested.
all these guys in made wealth by investing in the right companies at an early stage,
Correct.
when no one was talking about them, or when people were negative about them. Like today, people are negative about Bitcoin, apprehensive about Bitcoin. Will this work? Will this not work? So, and when we know that it's like a situation where internet used to be in 1999, we are so early. Just imagine if internet in 1999, Bitcoin is at the same uh, uh, time frame. So you're still early, but people don't want to believe that statement that we are early. They think that uh, that we are too late. They just to forget that Bitcoin has also given a return of 140% in since inception
Mm,
every year.
Mm.
140% is
Great.
is a phenomenal return. But I don't know how much return people expect. People want to get 1000% return. Nothing wrong in that,
Yeah,
being exponentially. But then you're also inviting a lot of risk.
correct.
So that is my
Interesting.
take on that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. One point that I just want to say is I think people who are thinking that, oh, they are late, I mean, this entire industry is still very early.
Hmm.
So I don't think, and this is my personal perspective, I don't think you are late. There's still a lot to be done, and we, as a crypto industry, is still at a very early stages. What I feel. Well, I'm loving this conversation, and would
Yeah.
if you had a chance, I would have kept asking and discussing this for another hours. But I know we have limited time here. One last question, and then we'll conclude
Hmm.
our discussion over here. What are your suggestions? Like, what are the 5 or 6 coins that you would ask people to watch out? Uh,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and you think those are promising in will be promising in next couple of months? What will be those 5 coins?
So I don't recommend coins, and I don't take names of those coins because obviously most of those coins have a founder, has a team, and when you talk about those coins, then it's kind of becomes
Promotion for them. Yeah.
yeah, it kind of becomes a baggage on you.
Mm,
And so I've already told you the strategy: thousand
mm,
rupees, 50% in Bitcoin, 20% in Ethereum. You can increase it to 25% if you want. These two things I can name it because even CFTC says that these are commodities, and commodities are,
sure.
you can discuss commodities like gold as an example. Everybody talks about it. So similarly, you can talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum openly in public. Now, after that, what you want to do is that you want to see that which sector is being talked about the most.
Mm,
Like today, if all the assets can be tokenized in future, like
real.
uh, you have different assets, financial assets, stocks, uh, you know uh, financial instruments, treasuries, bonds. If these things can be tokenized, so that means that real world assets, maybe art and everything. I mean, these are the kind of projects that you can now you know that real world assets tokenization is going to be big. So okay, that is one area that you can look at. The best thing that I will suggest is not to invest even. Just go and explore those projects in that particular sector and try to earn airdrops.
Mm,
So my suggestion is that if you really want to uh, play safe and also earn, do not invest in altcoins. Rather, go to those particular sectors and target to earn airdrops
mm,
by exploring those ecosystem, by putting in energy and effort into those ecosystem. And there are a lot of opportunities, and we all know people have earned amazing money in
mm.
airdrops
Correct.
purely by airdrop hunting. So
Yeah.
the mantra for 2024 is: do not invest, earn your first crypto. By doing that, what will happen? You will also get to learn this industry, and
Mm,
when once you will explore different ecosystem,
mm,
then you will also use the ecosystem. Then you are not the investor of ecosystem; you're the user of ecosystem. So the best part about it, that figure out which domains are going to work the most, like social networks, RWA, right? So these are the ecosystem that these are the sectors. There are a couple of more which you can figure it out
mm.
and see where you can put in your effort and do that. So, and otherwise, if you still don't want to do that, and you say that no, I want to invest money, I've already told you, large caps, 70% of your money is secure, then mid caps, and
For
5%, 6% is crazy thing that you want to do. You
sure.
just want to try your luck on a gambling table. That is what you want to do it with 5-10%. And in fact, I will not even recommend doing it,
Doing
but at least you
it.
will not have a regret, because I personally don't do that.
Right.
So when I don't do that, I don't recommend that. But I know that is my personal choice, but
Yeah.
people still want to know the strategy. So even if you want to take a risk, I mean, your risk appetite should not be more than 10%.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you
Yeah.
for the advice. I think people who are new to crypto would definitely get a lot of insights. This is
Mm.
great chatting, Kasif. Again, once again, really thank you for joining me here. And again, like this conversation, if had a chance, could have been gone further.
Mm.
But thank you
We
so
can do
much.
that again at some
Yes.
point of time, some other topic,
Yes.
because this is endless. You have so many topics. We can talk about how financial institutions are going to, is it a good thing or a bad thing for Bitcoin? So many other topics that we can cover some other time.
Yeah.
In
Absolutely.
fact, we'll love to hear your perspective because since you're in US, uh, what happens in US, how big is US, what are the financial institutions, how do they operate, what is the transparency levels, what are the regulations there, how much freedom is there for them, how investors react to that, why US invest a lot in stocks, why people in India and developing countries don't do that, how financially literate what US has done different in
Yeah,
that we have not been able to do that. So they are amazing topics that we can discuss in
that
future.
lovely topics. Lovely topic
Mhm.
actually. I would love to share like why
Mm,
country like US invest more in the markets and country like developing countries invest more on
mm.
FDs and fixed deposits, and
Yeah,
it's all a little bit government related regulation and a little bit mindset culture. A lot of things plays role into this. But yeah,
we'll do
well,
that.
we'll talk again and discuss in more details. Thank you so much. You have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Bye bye.